Welcome to this edition of Morgan the Asked For podcast. Friday or Wednesday night, 9:00, normal time. Thanks for joining us. Trev's back this week, and we are going to see each other this weekend, and he'll be back for a few days over the holiday. So it's that time of year where we get together, spend some time, and that will be a great time. Him and Cody will be hanging out. I was talking to Cody the other night, and he's like, it's just Trevor's room. And I've slept there before, and I know you do when you're there. It's just I don't touch it, and he doesn't do anything to it. It's just Trev's room.
Yeah, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's about it. But yeah, we'll see you on Friday. I'm going to meet up there, maybe grab some food and check out some of the sports in the area, maybe the casino and all that kind of good stuff. So be back Friday afternoon, be back Thanksgiving week, and then of course Christmas down the line. So it'll be good to see everybody.
Yep. How's the weather out there? You got snow yet?
The Pikes Peak down in Colorado Springs finally got snow this week, but as far as on the ground, it was like 60 degrees today. So
okay.
No snow yet. Hawaii got snow before Denver did, and it's a long drought for Denver and a lot of Colorado right now. So we need snow soon, but it didn't look like there's much that's going to be on the ground any time in the near future.
So just up in the higher elevations and everything, they might have got some, but just regular snow, not yet.
No.
It's supposed to be nice here. 55 degrees on Saturday for the football games, Iowa State and Iowa. Last home game, senior night. I'm going to name this podcast, what are the Cyclones and Hawkeyes playing for this weekend? And you could make an argument like what are many teams in college football playing for this weekend if you're not in the playoff talk. The difference is used to be, and Iowa State's in this boat right now. What are they playing for? But in the history of Iowa State football, there's still a chance for them to win 9 football games. And that's only happened 3 times in the history of Iowa State football. So in the big scheme, it's still a chance for a really great year. But short term and reality, it's kind of a disappointing season after starting 5-0, being ranked about 11th or 12th in the country, and then losing 4 in a row. They're playing for a bowl game, and it's kind of came out a little bit. Jamie Pollard put out a picture that, he wants to go to the Rate Bowl in Phoenix because the other 2 bowl games around that are Orlando and the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, which Iowa State's been to both of them several times recently. Mm-hmm. And with the bowl games declining, intrigue, it's just an exhibition game. You can't ask fans to go to the same place over and over and over again. You need to vary it up. So the Texas Bowl would be in play, and then Phoenix. And then as of today, it doesn't look like it, but chaos might happen where you get 2 teams in, and maybe there's a slight chance if you win your last 2 games, you could bump up to the Alamo Bowl. And then that would be a game, if you went to the Alamo Bowl every year, it would get a little bit old, but that's one where you don't turn that one down. That's San Antonio is a great place to go. It's a good bowl game. That's one tough to turn down. But Memphis is nice because you can drive to it. I've done it a few times. Orlando sucks in right around Christmas. I was there last year just because I happened to be there for a family thing. So I went, but I would not have went just to go to the bowl game. Orlando's just not cool, especially that time of year with everybody wanting to go to Disney and everything.
Yeah, going to some different places is good for the fan base, like you talked about. Obviously, both Iowa and Iowa State are playing for pride right now. Their final 2 games. Hopefully, Kirk Ferentz talked to the Hawks about playing for Trevor Voss's bank account because I still need Iowa to get to 8 wins to get over 7.5. So I'd hope the Hawks have that in mind when they take the field Saturday.
I'm sure that was first thing he brought up Sunday morning at the meeting was Trevor Voss's bank account.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little bonus for me there. I think they're like 17-point favorites versus Michigan State. So I really do hope that the Hawks can run Michigan State out of the building. Michigan State's my least favorite Big Ten team. So I would love to see a 30-0 beatdown of the Spartans. And then, of course, it would set up Black Friday against Nebraska. Obviously, Raiola's out, but I think their backups played decent coming in there to relieve him of his injury. So both these are pride games for Iowa. Same thing for Iowa State. Iowa really hasn't had a problem with guys sitting out for the NFL or anything like that. Iowa does a pretty good job of guys playing for pride. I know Jack Campbell years ago played in the bowl game, and then was a first-round draft pick. So for a lot of teams that aren't in the playoff hunt right now, it's playing for pride.
Yeah, just pride. Iowa and Iowa State are both in that situation where their seasons haven't been so bad that you have players kind of opting out during the season. Now, they both will have players not playing a bowl game. Iowa's what they're playing for is in a better bowl game / different bowl game, whatever. I was watching two guys, Chris Hassel and Chris Williams, tonight, and they were talking about just the importance of the games. Now, the one thing that we do know that the players inside the locker room and the coaches, both at Iowa and Iowa State, it's super meaningful. You are looking towards next year. Both teams have younger players that they need to get reps and just need to get better to turn in and be ready to go full go next year. And then obviously coaching staffs, Kirk Ferentz, as long as he wants to come back, will be back. Matt Campbell looks like he's going to come back. I mean, I'm never going to say 100% because you never know how this coaching carousel is going to go, which that's a whole different topic that we could have a heck of a conversation on, is who's going to end up where. Is Lane Kiffin leaving? Did he get an ultimatum? Did he not? All the James Franklin got hired today by Virginia Tech. I put 2 and 2 together. I was looking the other day that the guy that just got fired at Virginia Tech was James Franklin's D coordinator at Penn State. So, I mean, it's kind of a small world. Does he bring him back as a DC? I mean, obviously not, but, it's kind of a small world there. And I think he'll do well there, but, everybody's waiting for one person to make up their mind, and that's Lane Kiffin. And you would think, I'm assuming they play the Egg Bowl next Friday or next Thursday. Whenever that game is over, he'll make his decision. I would assume. I would think LSU and Florida and Ole Miss would all want that to be decided there before December.
Yeah, they want a decision. Obviously, for Virginia Tech getting James Franklin, that's as good as you can get at Virginia Tech. That's a heck of a hire for them. So he'll get players. I've already seen a bunch of guys that are transferring there that he had coming to Penn State. So they're going to get the players there. And it sounds like he trusts the backing of the money. So that's a good thing. And then for Lane Kiffin, there's rumors of they need a decision. But, I mean, he could easily just say, they want a decision before the playoffs start, or right after the Egg Bowl. I mean, he could easily say, well, fire me then before the playoffs. I mean, he doesn't have to give them an answer.
Right.
They want an answer, and I'm sure he'd like to give it to them. I'm sure he wants to do this the best way possible. But Joel Klatt thinks he's going to Florida.
Really? And I like Joel Klatt, and I know you do too. You suppose it's just maybe not quite as cynical as LSU?
It's less chaos, but to me, LSU's the better program. Obviously, they've won 3 national titles, 3 different coaches, I think since 2000 or whatever it's been. Yep. Louisiana is a very underrated state for high school football players. Now, Florida's obviously one of the best, if not the best, if you get the right guys.
You have to battle Miami and Florida State in Florida. I mean, that's the downside of the Florida job. Florida's got, it's California, Texas, and Florida for the most players that everybody goes after. But you are battling in-state teams.
You are battling, but Klatt thinks he likes Florida. But again, I'm sure Lane Kiffin, if he was going to stay, I think he would have already signed an extension by now because he could have leveraged money. It sounds like Ole Miss told him money's not a problem. Whatever they're offering, we'll match. So he could have already done that, which kind of leads people to believe he probably is going to leave. And, there's rumors that they would potentially, they want a decision before the playoffs. Well, would they fire him before the playoffs if he said he's leaving? I mean, that you'd really get a lot of heat from the fan base if Ole Miss goes in as a 5, 6, 7 seed, whatever it is, and you fire Lane Kiffin because he didn't give you an answer in time. I mean, that's
right. Then and that he can go to any job in the country. I mean, if you fire him, one, he'd be great on TV, and two, he has two of the best jobs in the country. And if he said, "Oh, what the heck, let's go try," let's just say it happens a weekend and LSU and Florida already hired somebody. Oh, I'll go to Auburn. Okay. I mean, he could go wherever he wants. I don't see that happening, but you never know.
No, and I don't think they're going to fire. My point is he doesn't have to officially give them an answer. I mean, he could force their hand. He's in total control here. They're not really in control. And if something like that was going to happen, Florida will keep their job open until they know for sure that he's not coming. So I think it's just a waiting game. If I was Ole Miss, if the writing's on the wall that he's going to leave, I'd want to keep him for the playoff run because outside of Ohio State, Georgia looks like they're rolling. So does Notre Dame. But, depending on how the playoff bracket opens up, I mean, Ole Miss could go on a run and potentially get to the Final Four, maybe even the championship. I don't think they could beat Ohio State. I just don't think they probably have quite enough good players. But this could be Ole Miss's one chance to go on a run here in the playoffs. So even if this is it for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, I'd want to take advantage of it if I was Ole Miss in the program there.
Yeah, if they would make a run and get to the semifinals or finals and Lane Kiffin still is your coach, that's a heck of a selling point and heck of a jumping off point to the new coach. Now, obviously, whoever that is, has big shoes to fill, and Lane Kiffin's going to take his best players with him, and it's your job to bring in your players with you. It's not going to be somebody that we haven't heard of that gets that Ole Miss job. It's turned into a pretty good job. It's a SEC. It's a middle to it's 6th, 7th, right now in the SEC, which is in the big scheme of college football is a top 30 job in the country. Someone's going to want that job and you won't have a problem doing it. Now you just hope they can recreate what Lane Kiffin has. And Lane Kiffin is Lane Kiffin and he does it his way. And he's been pretty successful everywhere he's been. He's only left 2 jobs, Tennessee and Florida Atlantic. The other 2 places he got fired, at USC and the Raiders. And then the Alabama, where he learned at Alabama. But then that didn't even end. People forget this. That ended going into a championship game. And Steve Sarkisian came in and called the plays for the championship game. So he was part of a championship team as a quarterback or as the offensive coordinator, but he actually was not with the team for the actual championship game. People forget about that. So it was kind of a weird ending to his Alabama time as well.
Yeah, and he's going to take advantage. He's obviously the biggest name in college right now. It's a domino effect. Once he makes his decision, no matter what it is, stay at Ole Miss, go to another program, or go to the NFL.
I'd say, is that in play? And that really will not happen until after, till the playoffs in the NFL and not after the playoff in Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the NFL is going to be in play. All these college coaches. I mean, if you get an NFL job, you have to consider it. I know we talked last week. I said he's not going to consider the Titans, and rumors came out he is. I don't see any chance he goes to Titans. That's probably one of the worst front offices in the entire NFL. Again, he'd probably consider the Giants would be a team. And if the Packers crap the bed down the final run here and don't make the playoffs, like I said, the Packers could be open. But that'll get into our NFL talk a little bit. But the NFL, any of the top candidates, we talked about Josh Pate said a week or two ago that there's a lot of college names that might surprise people. There was rumors today that Sarkisian might be leaving Texas, and all these rumors start up. So I'm sure, and all the coaches can deny it. They could say, no, we haven't talked to anybody, but their agents have. That's the agents
right.
Do the talking. So they're all sniffing around and seeing what's out there, seeing what the pay would be. All these top coaches are doing that. They're just they can just deny it though because the agents are the one in the discussion.
They haven't talked to anybody.
Right.
And that is correct. But their representatives have. And even if it's not directly their agent, they have people that have inquired or received information. So yeah, they're not naive. They're able to deny it because technically they didn't do it. But that's just the way the world works now, and it's just part of the job.
Yeah, so Lane will be the big domino. Once he decides, then I think a lot of other ones will fall into place. The small jobs, of course, will take care of themselves whenever they do. But Florida and LSU, Ole Miss, those will all have a domino effect depending what Lane does.
Is there any chance, keeping on the coaching, that like a Kirby Smart, a Ryan Day goes to the NFL?
Kirby just feels like a college guy.
I agree. I mean, I think so.
He's got that.
Did he go to the Dolphins with Saban?
I can't even remember if he did or not.
Because I'm pretty sure he wasn't the coordinator, but I didn't know if he was, because I think Will Muschamp was their coordinator. I think he was with him at LSU, and then like they all went to Miami and then came back with him to Alabama, which that's a coach that's just fallen off. Got a few jobs there, got the Florida job, got the South Carolina job. I don't even know where he's at now, but he's a Saban guy that just it didn't work out.
Yeah, and then for Ryan Day, it'd be tough to leave Ohio State right now because I mean obviously it looks like they're the favorites to repeat, which they're going to have a good chance to do, and Sayand is going to be their quarterback for a couple more seasons. Yeah. So I mean, it'd be extremely tough to three-peat. They still have to win this year first for that to even be possible. But if he coaches there 5 more years, there's no reason to believe that he can't maybe win 3 national titles.
Right. But I just look at like a Chip Kelly that was on that same trajectory. Now, Chip never won one. He got to a championship game, got beat. But, like his overall college record at Oregon was like 42-4, just like Ryan Day's is, that same percentage, and just, wanted a different challenge. And, and then he bounced around again. And I saw an article today that he's getting paid $6 million a year at Las Vegas, and his offense isn't very good.
He needs to go back to college. He's not well liked in NFL circles. There's enough stories about him. He treats people bad. He's more of a college guy, and this, for as much as he's getting paid for the Raiders, it's been an absolute failure. It's not maybe all his fault, of course, but he's a big part of the problem. Ashton Genty can't run the ball. Geno Smith is a turnover machine. So I think Chip Kelly, that's the big change they're going to make. I don't think the Raiders are going to fire Pete Carroll after 1 year. They've had too much craziness over the years going on there with the Raiders, but I think Chip Kelly will be gone and probably head back to college somewhere.
Would he be in play for some of the, maybe, not Florida State? Would he be an Ole Miss candidate if Lane leaves, or an Auburn candidate? I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, depending on who's left, right? I mean, he may be team's 4th or 5th option, right? But if that's the best they can do, yeah, I mean, he'd be in play for jobs like that. I don't think LSU would give him the reins.
No, I don't think so either.
He's too much of a quirky personality, kind of like Brian Kelly was. I think they'd want.
Well, he's a Northeast guy like Brian Kelly. I just don't think you can go that way again.
Yeah, but a smaller job,
right?
Definitely, I think he'd be in play. Or he could obviously go be an offensive coordinator at one of the top programs that need to fill an OC spot.
Yeah, if let's say Lane takes LSU and wants to, I mean, obviously Lane calls his own plays and things like that, but let's say LSU or Florida, he just feels like it's too big of a job to do that, and he needs someone that he can trust to do it. And that's the type, and you can go pay him $3 million a year. Money's not an issue for those jobs. So that would be an interesting take as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to be back in college next season, either as an OC at a big program or a head coach at a, kind of more of a middle type program.
Yep. All right, let's talk games, like actual. Let's go to Iowa State games. Let's go with Iowa first. Michigan State. Michigan State's god awful. No wins in the Big Ten. Your least favorite team. Always pick them last. I think they really are the worst team. Them and Purdue. 17-point favorite roughly for Iowa. I do think it's a relatively easy game. 17 points is a lot, but I do think Iowa has something to prove after their last couple losses with huge opportunities. Kirk Ferentz is really good at getting his guys, keep them up and having them play well to end the season. And I think they win handily. I'm going to say they are going to cover. They're going to win by about 20 points.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And if you look back at the USC game real quick, a great first half. If you had told me the first half went like that, I mean, I would expect Iowa to win almost always. And that's the thing with Iowa this year. Let's assume they win the final 2 games. They finish 8-4, because I always say that's kind of the floor for each year. You want to go 8-4 or better. I was talking to Taylor. This has been a pretty enjoyable team to watch actually this year. The offense has some nice things going compared to the past 4 or 5 seasons. So it's been kind of fun. The difference between an 8-4 and a 10-2 season or better is 1 or 2 plays in each game. I mean, you look at Iowa State, that ball toward the end where the tight end came down with it. You know, in years past, a lot of times Iowa comes down with that ball. The Indiana game, the interception, getting no points off of it, and then the blown coverage on the blitz at the end. Oregon, the safety, the Weegan fumble, and the failed 2-pointer at the end, and then USC game, not scoring in the second half. I mean, 1 or 2 plays in any of those games, but Iowa they weren't good enough this year to make them. They were close, but it's just kind of a season of what ifs.
Yeah, I've heard that. You know, I listen to a lot of Hawkeye fans on the radio and podcasts and stuff, and that's what they've said. This team is so much more fun to watch. They don't hate their team. They hated their 10-2 team with McNamara and Petrus and Deacon Hill. They hated their team. They loved their defense, but hated the team overall. And that's a team that went 10-2. This team isn't as good as that record-wise, but it's actually fun to watch the Hawkeyes. They can make some plays on offense. Their defense isn't elite like it was, and their special teams isn't elite like it was. That's the difference. Offense is much better, but the defense and special teams aren't as good. But it's more enjoyable to watch, as Hawkeye fans have said, and I agree with that. I listen and watch Chris Hassel do a lot of stuff on Iowa Everywhere and on CBS, and yeah, he's been engaged. He watches every game, he watches every minute, and he hasn't done that in years. He said so.
Yeah, the defense is just a tad off. You know, the special teams, obviously the return game is the best in the country, one of them, with 3 touchdowns.
The punter's not as good.
Punter's not as good, but everything else is right up there like they usually are. The defense is just a touch off, giving up some rushing yards, giving up some big plays in the passing game. But it shows you, though, what a mobile quarterback can do under Tim Lester, which, provides some hope for the upcoming seasons. Let's say the next 2 or 3 seasons, assuming Kirk stays as head coach, of course. If Iowa can have a mobile quarterback, which I've been begging for years, we see what's possible. Now, not every mobile quarterback is going to be a tough runner like Gronowski is, but any quarterback that can move instead of just being a statue back there like Deacon Hill or Petrus, that it gives Iowa, a few more first downs a game, a few more explosive plays, just some more options on offense. So it's definitely been more fun to watch.
Yeah, so you think they roll as well, and then they roll into final weekend against Nebraska, Black Friday, in a relatively big game in the concept of what the big game is for them without, playoff, but rivalry, finish 8-4, like you said, that's kind of the minimum. And then obviously you just want to keep Nebraska down. Move over to Iowa State, playing Kansas. Kansas, disappointing season, much like the Cyclones. They thought they were going to be better. Maybe their ceiling wasn't as high as Iowa State, and obviously they didn't start 5-0 like the Iowa State did. So their dreams weren't, playoffs, win a Big 12 championship. But their quarterback, 6th year at Kansas, played Iowa State each year. And how about this? He actually played Iowa State in the COVID year when Brock Purdy was a junior. He was Kansas's quarterback. And that's how long he's been at Kansas. This was a team that beat Iowa State last year, the worst of anybody up until the Arizona State Big 12 championship. They absolutely killed Iowa State down at Arrowhead. And he made Iowa State's defense look silly. So he has had success against Iowa State. Lance Leipold, I believe, has won 3 in a row against Iowa State. Iowa State's about a 3.5 point favorite, depending where you look. So I do think the Cyclones win, but it's a dogfight, and they have to play well, and they need to play better on offense. Hopefully the bye week got everybody a little bit healthier. No one's healthier. and they're able to hopefully self-scout and figure out some things, because they need to win these last 2 games to finish, 8-4 with a chance to win 9 games for only, I believe, the 3rd time in school history.
Yeah. So what's the weather should be good in Ames, right? On Saturday.
54, like 10, 15 mile an hour winds. So, I mean, for November 21st, it's going to be good in both Iowa City and Ames. So, yeah, it's going to be as good as you could hope for this week. Last year at this time, we couldn't wear enough clothes. There was snow on the ground, and it was cold, and it was kind of miserable at the last game of the year. Now, it was 1 week later. It was the truly last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it was darn cold.
Yeah, I was looking at the weather. It looks like starting next week, it's officially going to get cold. Finally, it looks like maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, Thanksgiving, of course.
Right around Thanksgiving, it's supposed to get like high of 38, 39, something like that. So yeah,
this is the last decent weather game probably of the year. Of course, there's only 2 left for both Iowa and Iowa State, so it's that time of the year anyway. Minus the bowl game.
Yeah,
so,
Iowa State goes down to Oklahoma State next week, so that weather shouldn't be too bad either. And then obviously Oklahoma State is god awful, one of the worst teams in the country, and
they're the Michigan State of Big 12.
Yes, which is amazing, because when this new Big 12 started, there's many people that thought Oklahoma State would and should be right at the top almost every year, close to Texas, have had success in the regular Big 12. Before that, I mean, they beat Oklahoma, with Gundy, not half the time, but, a quarter to half of the time. I mean, they didn't lose to Oklahoma every year like they did for the 25 years previous to Gundy being there. And it just, for whatever reason, the new NIL, some of these older coaches have not, they say we're out. And I think Gundy was kind of that way. And maybe that money wasn't there as much as I thought. And I think a big thing, and I know the basketball team, both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, the Oklahoma City Thunder have taken a lot of resources out of Oklahoma. Obviously, they're really good right now. They won an NBA championship. They're really good again. But, a lot of the companies that sponsor Oklahoma and Oklahoma State athletics have maybe transferred that money to the Oklahoma City Thunder, because it's a big-time professional league, and those schools are falling a little bit behind. Now, Oklahoma, last year struggling in the SEC, they had a huge win Saturday at Alabama. They're actually 2-0 against Alabama in the SEC. That was only one of their 2 conference wins last year, and kept Alabama out of the playoff. If it ended today, Oklahoma would be in the playoff. They've got a decently difficult game with Missouri this week, but that was kind of, last week, that was the biggest upset / win. I don't know how much of a real upset it is. Oklahoma's doesn't take a backseat to anybody, but ranking wise, and maybe this year, it was a little bit of an upset. But Oklahoma, in the big scheme of things, beating Alabama isn't a huge upset in college football history.
No, the 2 all-time great programs. Obviously, Alabama's had the recent history, the last 20 years or whatever it's been. But Oklahoma's a blue blood. I know, for Alabama, speaking of the playoffs, I mean, they've got, Panera Bread this week or whoever they're playing. And then they got Auburn, though. And Auburn's going to want to play spoiler. And we've seen over the years, the Iron Bowl. I mean, and Alabama can't run the ball for whatever reason.
At all. Cannot run it at all.
So that's no gimme there. And I think that game is in Auburn. I'd have to double check the schedule, but
I'd love to see Auburn win that game.
That would knock them out. If Alabama wins that one, they're going to be in, because they'd only have the one SEC loss, and then the other loss would be, of course, at Florida State at the beginning of the season. So that's going to set up a really big game there in the Iron Bowl. So I'll be interested to watch that one.
Yeah, and then kind of the other SEC game that ended up not being a huge deal and didn't change anything, but South Carolina being ahead 30-3 at half over Texas A&M at A&M. That was the crazy part. It was at A&M, and but then they come back, and how fast they came back. Texas A&M took the lead with 11 and a half minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. They did it in just barely over a quarter. So A&M is in the playoff as well. Even if they lose to Texas, it doesn't matter. They're in. Obviously, they want to beat Texas just because they want to beat Texas, and then that would get Texas out no matter what. I think there's a very slim chance Texas gets in anyway, but that would definitely kick them out. With the way it's all working out and the ACC sucking as bad as they are, it does look like they're going to be 5 SEC teams in the playoff with Oklahoma beating Alabama. And I do think it is unfortunately only going to be one Big 12 team because you still have to put the ACC team in. The Notre Dame is going to win as well, and they're going to be in. So you're going to have 5 teams from the SEC. You're going to have 3 teams from the Big 10, Notre Dame, ACC group of 5, which today would be Tulane, and then obviously the Big 12 champ, which probably Texas Tech. But I would love to, it's just takes one slip up and you don't know. Here's the intriguing game. Kind of maybe the biggest game of the whole weekend is USC and Oregon, and with how much, 2 ranked teams, but the committee dropped Alabama from 4 to 10, so they dropped them 6 spots. If Oregon would lose to USC and they dropped them 6 spots, they would be out. USC, I think, would jump in, but would they jump in ahead of a Utah or BYU, or would they get to that 10 spot and BYU or Utah would get up to that 9? And then you may have a chance, and then maybe you could get that 4 team in, or maybe there would be a chance to only 2 teams in for the Big 10. But I do think it'd be really, really hard to leave a 2-loss USC team out of the playoff. 1, they're a blue blood, and 2, they're in the Big 10. So, but that would be really hard for Oregon to only have a couple losses and be out of the playoff. But there's definitely a chance there.
Yeah, USC's got a chance to be the biggest spoiler of the playoff bracket this coming weekend, because obviously if USC wins, you probably got to put them in, and then Oregon will be on the cut line. Yep. If they get in, they'd probably be one of the last teams in, of course. And then, Miami, the Notre Dame thing going on. We'll see how those 2 teams finish up the rest of the season. Notre Dame's schedule's pretty easy. Miami, I don't know off the top of my head, but no, it's fun. This 12-team playoff is pretty intriguing. A lot of different scenarios. You see the playoff bracket come out. Tulane at Texas Tech's not really intriguing, but Notre Dame going to Oklahoma would be pretty cool. That'd be a fun game to watch. They were talking that Notre Dame would be a 3.5-point favorite on the road, which surprised me a little, but Notre Dame is playing really well right now.
Yeah.
The other one was Miami at Ole Miss. That'd be an okay matchup. I think I'd like Ole Miss in that one. And then it'd be Alabama going to Oregon, which right. that'd be a fun matchup too.
Yep. Yeah, I'd like to see Alabama getting out of the southern part of the country. That's always good. Yeah, so, and again, everybody can complain, whine about who's in, who's out. We're all going to watch. And so it ultimately doesn't really matter who's in, at least not for me. I'm going to watch almost every game from start to finish. And that's just the way it is.
That's one thing I was going to ask you. So you're the college football pick'em that you do that we're doing right now. Does that end with the regular season?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Okay, well, if it does, you should set up another one for the playoff bracket.
Yeah, that I actually need to study and do that. And those of you that are in that, we have a couple people that sometimes they make their picks and sometimes they don't. So just a reminder, make your picks.
Who's the guy that's leading it?
Kyle Kramer, the guy I teach with. It's him and I at the top.
Well, none of us have a chance of catching him.
No, he's I have a slight chance at best.
Slight, but I think he's got first place locked up. You've probably got second place locked up, and then it's me and Zach battling for third.
Yeah, it's so I'm in another one of those that and this one's a little bit different where you do like the confidence, you can, it's a high value or a low value. So you might win 15 points, but then also if they would lose that game, you lose 12 or whatever. And so some weeks you literally lose points. And then some weeks, a good week, I don't know, it was a few weeks ago where all the favorites lost. And like the high of the week was only like 50 points. It was like, and I jumped up. I'm actually, that one has like 150 people in it. I haven't looked this week, but I was about 20th or whatever. So I was doing pretty good in that one as well.
Yeah, that's not bad. No, it's been fun. I think we'll get some more people in it next year. We can kind of prepare a little better and maybe get, we'll get more people in it next year. And I'd like to do one for the NFL too, where people just pick the NFL games each week. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of the same people to do both.
Yeah. The NFL would be good. That's obviously more your wheelhouse, but we can get those going, and those contests are fun. And I'll have to play around with that website and see if they have NFL, like playoff stuff, college playoff / I would almost bet a lot of money they'd have like a bowl pick 'em, just like we've done forever.
ESPN will probably just have a bracket right on their website that you can do a contest,
right?
A group name and password type of deal.
Yep, just like college basketball. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to work on that. I'll have to play around on the internet, try to figure that out. Let's transfer to the NFL. We're about halfway done here. Just want to say it is middle to late November. Ben Johnson's first year, and the Chicago Bears are in first place in the NFC North. Now, their schedule has not been tough. They have some tough games coming up. They play several, league games. They have the Eagles coming up. I mean, we're going to find out if they're any good or not coming. But as we've talked about for weeks, they are doing what they need to do. And a good comeback, great kick return. Again, every part of the game matters to set themselves up. Now, here's the thing. And I can't remember. I was talking with a guy that I teach with that he was at the game. He's a Bears fan, but he went up to watch the game in Minnesota. And and this is a fair question. Santos kicked a 47-yarder to win it. But that's about all he had. Mm-hmm. And you've got a guy sitting in your practice squad that can boom 60-yarders. Do you have to make that move soon? Now, Santos has been your kicker for a few years, but with today's NFL and the way today's kickers are, how do you keep a guy that can't kick a 55-yarder? They should be able to kick at 70. Now, are you going to make a 70-yarder? No. Not very often. I mean, it's coming, but you got to have a guy that can at least kick it that far. I mean, it was that 7-yard run that they had on first down or third down, whatever it was super important, and it mattered because if he wouldn't have got those 7 yards, the kick was short.
Yeah, that's an interesting question for the kicker there. I mean, that barely made it, and that was indoors, of course, and. Right. A lot of their games coming up are going to be outdoors. Obviously, if they win the division, they're going to be hosting a home playoff game outside. So you're going to lose distance there anyway. Anytime you're playing out in the cold for any kicker, so that's something to pay attention. I forgot to do it last week, but I got to thank your Bears for the comeback win that they had a couple weeks ago because that's keeping me alive in Taylor's survivor pool. So
are you still? How many people are still left in that? Now that I'm out, I don't even pay attention. I don't even look.
There's 11 of us left, and I've got 2 entries.
Oh, there you go. How about – so I was listening to some guys on the radio, and they are big in that circus survivor pool, like that's worth like, $12 million or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there was – I'm going to have the numbers wrong on here, but the idea of this you'll get. Let's just say there's 100 guys left. There was one guy that had 10 entries. And he put 5 on 2 different games, and they both lost. In 1 week, you had 10%. Like you were hedging the heck out of this stuff, especially if you'd have got through this week. Who got beat this week? That was not this weekend, but the weekend before. Maybe the Bills. When the Bills got beat by the Dolphins, pretty sure he had the Bills, and then there was another one that. Yeah, he had 5 and 5 and lost them both. So he went from 10 entries to 0.
Yeah, that'd be brutal. That would be a terrible way to go. I was trying to see what the other upset was that week, if there was one. Was there one? I don't think that was the big one though.
Right. And maybe it was he just went with somebody and they lost. I mean, it was maybe not a huge upset, but yeah, he went 5-5 and went game over. Yeah, that would be really bad.
But that'd be rough. That's why it's a big risk doing that. I mean, that Thursday night game earlier this year where I lost 2 of my 5 because I did 2 on the Rams at home versus the Niners when the Niners were all banged up and the Niners going to win the game. So that's, the tough thing about it is I did 5 in Tays.
Right.
It's tough to go 5 for 5 though, too, if you pick 5 different games, week 1, week 2, week 3. Because you can get on, DraftKings or whatever, and you can do 5 money lines, and you see what the odds are. I mean, the odds of going 5 for 5 were tough enough. So there's really no exact science to it. But if I had 10 left like he did, I just know how I am. I'm a little too conservative. I would not do 5 and 5. I'd spread it out like 3, 3, 3 and 1 or something.
And that game, it's a little bit different because now we're getting to the time where the Thanksgiving games are their own week. And then the Christmas games are their own week. So they're adding weeks into that. So it's not just – so you have to save teams that are actually playing that day. Like you have to have the Cowboys and the Packers or the Lions and whoever they're playing. And then Christmas, I think it's the Chiefs are playing. I mean, so you can't just willy-nilly pick teams and then all of a sudden not have anybody left. There is a little strategy to that game just because of those different – where not every team's playing during those, special weeks.
Yeah, it gets a little bit stressful. And I've got a couple of buddies that are in that circa one or whatever where they pick 5 games versus spread each week.
Yeah, that's the circa millions, I think.
Circa millions. There's 2 different ones. He's in the lower one that.
There's the one that was $1,000 entry. And then there was the one that was $100,000 entry. The grand something was. Yeah, they're doing that. And it was $100,000 entry fee.
I think he just got to finish in the top 500 to get paid some money at the end of the season. So he's only 3 games out of the top 500 right now. So he's got a chance. But yeah, it's kind of fun to pay attention to. That'd be stressful. But if you get in that top 500 or better, I'm sure the payout's got to be pretty decent.
Right. Yeah. So,
but let's your Bears though. Let's go through the NFC North teams real quick. And obviously, I didn't do power rankings this week, but I think next week I might, and I might just put NFC North, and that's it because the NFC North teams are all just kind of bunched together. Let's look at each team's next 3 games. We'll start with your Bears, who are leading. They're at home versus Pittsburgh. They're at the Eagles, and then at the Packers. That's a tough stretch. They really need to win Sunday. The Packers' next 3: home versus the Vikings, at the Lions on Thanksgiving, home versus the Bears. So 3 divisional games. The Lions next 3, home versus the Giants this weekend. Got to win that one. Home versus the Packers on Thanksgiving. They'll have the edge because they're the home team on a short week. And then they're home versus the Cowboys. So the Lions, they got to go about 3-0 because they've got 3 straight home games. They really need to run 3 in a row here. And we'll see who comes out on top of that division. I feel like all 3 of those teams are just kind of bunched together right now. The Packers have the best unit of any of the teams. They have the best defense.
Right.
The Lions, that was an ugly game on Monday night there.
Right.
Where they just the 4th downs, Jared Goff couldn't complete a pass. I think he had 5 balls knocked down. But that's a problem with the Lions. Best case scenario for the Lions, realistically, best case, they win the division. They get a home playoff game. Round 2 is in Tampa, call it, where it's it's going to be warm. And then if they were to make the NFC Championship game, it's either in Los Angeles versus the Rams, or hopefully there's an upset and they can host it in Detroit. Because if
they don't want to go,
if they got to go on the road to
Philly,
if they can't run the ball, they're going to lose. Jared Goff's just not going to be good. If you look at the AFC, obviously the Chiefs lost again. The Chiefs have the Colts this weekend at home.
They need to win that.
The Chiefs have to go, if they go 7-0 down the stretch, they're for sure in 100%.
Right.
If they go 6-1, they're almost for suredly in. 5-2. If they go 5-2, it's a coin flip. depending on tiebreakers. 4-3, they're almost assuredly out. So
Right.
I did bet the Chiefs to get to 11 wins after they lost on Sunday, meaning they have to go 6-1 or 7-0 down the stretch. They've got the Colts, then at the Cowboys, then home versus the Texans is their next three. And really, I mean, they've got to beat the Texans and they've got to beat the Chargers down the stretch for sure, because those are two teams that are battling for some of those last playoff spots. So those are must wins. That game that they lost to Jacksonville is that's the one that could end up costing them when they look back at the end of the year if they do miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to, but it's getting closer and closer each week with every loss now.
Yeah, it's who would have thought they would be five? They're 5-5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who would have thought they'd be 5-5 with Mahomes and Kelsey being healthy all year? Now the receivers have been in and out a little bit, but that's just another team that they can't run the football either, and it's just all on Mahomes.
They can't get a pass rush on defense. The Bills, I mean, Josh Allen went into Superman mode again this past weekend. And, if you would have told the Bills, their coaches, their fans, hey, what if we told you next season Mahomes, Lamar, and Joe Burrow all miss the playoffs, which now they would if the playoffs started. You would find any Bills fan to think, yep, this is our year. And I still think it has to be the Bills' year, because if you look at the top three teams in the AFC, what they're going to be, it's probably going to be the Broncos or the Patriots to get the number one seed.
Yep.
Because the Colts have a tough schedule. They've got Chiefs, they've got the Jaguars twice, Seattle and the Niners, and then 2 games versus Texans. So it's probably going to be the Broncos or Patriots. But the thing with all three of those teams is they all have one thing in common. They don't have a proven playoff quarterback.
Right. They haven't been there yet.
Daniel Jones has played in a couple playoff games, but he didn't do anything special, and his fumbles are up. Drake May is having an outstanding season, but again, what's he going to do in the playoffs? And then Bo Nix, he played in the playoff game last year, but the Broncos, obviously, they have a good enough team to win the Super Bowl, but I think the AFC is wide open. If the Bills and the Chiefs are wild card teams, I don't think any of those three teams I just mentioned are going to look forward to the Bills or Chiefs coming to their stadium.
No.
Those fan bases are going to be scared. The NFC to me feels like it's the Eagles and the Rams, maybe the Seahawks. Then there's a gap, and it's those NFC North teams, the Niners and the Bucks. And I think the Niners might be a team to keep an eye on because they're getting healthy on offense.
Right. And let's go there. Brock Purdy comes back, played well, and it just goes to and just watching the team, listening to Kittle afterwards, watching McCaffrey during the game. Brock Purdy is an integral member of that football team. You can make an argument that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Kyle Shanahan will get them to be good. Mac Jones was fine when he was in there. But Brock Purdy is the leader of that team, one of the leaders. Mm-hmm. And everybody wants him to be their quarterback, wants them to be their quarterback. And with him back, as long as he stays healthy, and as long as McCaffrey stays healthy, I mean, that's the key right there. If McCaffrey is healthy and Purdy is healthy, I think you're right. They sneakily might have a chance to go farther than people think they will.
Mm-hmm. Their next 3 games, home versus the Panthers, at the Browns, home versus Titans. And so, I mean, those are 3 winnable ones. They've lost players on defense, and that's not going to change because Bosa and Fred Warner are just out for the year. But Saul is going to have them coached up well. So they just need to be sound on defense. And Ricky Pearsall's back. I think Brandon Ayuk's got a chance to get back here soon. That's been kind of one of those mystery players this year. But the 49ers may go into the playoffs red hot and may be an offensive juggernaut. I mean, between McCaffrey, Kittle, Pearsall, Purdy, I mean, they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs because they have the pedigree too. They've been there and done that.
They've been there, done that. Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean that and I do think that matters. It does take a progression. It takes getting to the playoffs. It takes getting to a championship game. It takes getting to the Super Bowl. There is a progression for most teams.
There certainly is. I mean, that's if you're Bears, each year, like I said, there's a team in the NFC or AFC that gets in the playoffs that they're probably not ready to go on a run. I would throw your Bears
Yep,
in that
absolutely.
category.
Yeah, they are not going to make the NFC Championship game if they get to the playoffs.
As of right now, no. But they still have 7 weeks to get better, so maybe.
Right.
You want to see how the next 7 weeks go. And, the one thing I always pay attention to, this is what teams go in on a 3, 4, 5 game winning streak that are hot. And I think the Niners could be one of those teams. I probably had them ranked too low in my power rankings looking back. I was worried about all the injuries, but, they may be a real problem on offense come the playoffs because they can run the ball. They're not just going to be one-dimensional like the Chiefs are right now, just throwing. They can run and pass. So the Niners are a team to look out for there in the NFC for sure.
What other NFL headlines?
Rams have some injuries.
Rams have some injuries. We kind of touched on Chip Kelly with the Raiders. Just don't look good. I haven't even watched. The Cowboys obviously are going to be the talk of this coming after this week. Playing on Thanksgiving. What's their record? I haven't even paid that much attention. They have any chance of getting the playoffs or anything, or are they just way too far gone?
Well, I think they're 4-5-1 right now. They'd have to. They're kind of like the Chiefs. They'd have to go 7-0 or 6-1 down the stretch or whatever it is. To really have a good chance. Adding Quinn Williams was big. George Pickens has been balling out this year, but again, it's a contract year, and they're going to have a decision to make on him. I think Jerry's going to want to re-sign him, but we know what that means. This offseason, it's going to get drug out all offseason. It's going to be a story, so he stays in the headlines. They'll probably get a deal done the week before the season starts or the week of. So we'll see how that goes. But the Cowboys look like a really interesting team for next season, though. With Quinn Williams coming in on the defensive line, they're getting healthier. They're going to have some draft picks. They can add some edge rushers or linebackers, whoever, in the draft. And I think the Cowboys are a team to look out for next season. They might be a game or two too far behind at this point. But again, if they go on a run, 6-1, 7-0 or whatever, however many games they got left, they might have a chance to sneak in. But they feel like they're just one game too far back at the moment.
I would agree with that. I don't.
Especially they got the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, and that's must win for the Chiefs. So I think the Chiefs are gonna. I think the Chiefs are gonna go 3-0 their next 3. But of course, I've been saying that for a while. But I'm not writing the Chiefs off yet.
Even when they get eliminated, you might still pick them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they're eliminated from the playoffs, I still might pick them to win the Super Bowl. That's just you gotta believe in them. Cowboys they are a team next year. I know we got some Cowboy fans that listen, and that's an interesting team for next season, though.
All right, I'm just going through the divisions. Seattle, kind of. Are there going to be 3 teams in the West that make the playoffs, or is that one too many?
No, they could. But that would mean the NFC North would only get 2, and then because obviously the Eagles are going to get the East. Probably it's either going to be the Bucks or the Panthers are another team that could play spoiler. They're right there on the cut line. It does feel like the NFC West though is going to get 3 in,
right?
And it does feel like the NFC North, Bears, Lions, or Packers, one of them's probably going to get left out. It depends who does well down the stretch here. It's going to be a race to the very end. Like I said last week, Bears and Niners play second to last week of the season. That could be a tiebreaker for that final playoff spot. But I think the Seahawks are getting in. That when you look at what happened in that game, Sam Darnold threw 4 picks and they still had a chance to win at the end.
Right.
Seattle's defense is really good, and they need to run the ball. Can they get to the NFC Championship game with Sam Darnold? I'm not ready to go there yet. When the playoffs start, to me, the NFC feels like Rams Eagles is going to be the NFC Championship game as of right now. AFC, I still think is wide open.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we call her a night?
Real quick on Josh Allen, the national sports media is finally starting to talk about this. I've been mentioning this on here for a few years now. Is his rushing touchdowns all time? I know I mentioned this probably 7 or 8 times over the years. Mm-hmm. He needs 6 more rushing touchdowns to pass Edgerrin James all time. He needs 12 to pass Priest Holmes. He needs 25 to pass Barry Sanders to get to 100 total. And by the time he's 35, if he keeps his average up, he'll have a chance to be 4th or 5th all time with guys like Adrian Peterson, Walter Payton, and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and this isn't like quarterback runs. This is rushing touchdowns, period.
Rushing touchdowns. If he stays healthy, he's going to retire with the most total touchdowns in the history of the league. So the only thing he's missing is that Super Bowl ring. And, I know the Broncos and the Patriots and the Colts all have good records. This is still the season that the Bills have to find a way to get through the AFC playoffs this year. The Chiefs are down. The Ravens are not in the playoffs as of right now. The Bills, I know they're going to be on the road. They've got to find a way to get it done. They have the experienced quarterback. I mean, all the other ones that I just talked about earlier don't have much or any experience at all in the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that the Broncos have is a Super Bowl winning coach. So they have that, but obviously their quarterback is super inexperienced.
He played good versus the Chiefs. He made some big throws at the end.
He's a fourth quarter guy, like first three quarters. Now, he didn't play horrible against the Chiefs at all, but even in some of the games, he's played bad for three quarters, and then fourth quarter really well. I watched a lot of football this last weekend, obviously with Iowa State not playing. Is there something to it that, team, and this is college and the NFL, through three quarters, it just looks like the offense is a struggle. But then once the fourth quarter hits, both teams go up and down the field, especially in like the last 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. They always have, last week against Oregon, Iowa scores with, 158 left or whatever it was. You knew Oregon was going to have a chance. There's many situations, last week when the Vikings scored with a minute left, no doubt in my mind that the Bears were going to go a little ways. Now they had the big kick return that really helped them. They didn't really have to do anything on offense, but just when it comes down to it, offenses can move the ball. And it's just weird that they can't do it for three quarters or 3.5 quarters. But when it truly comes time to do it, where they don't have a choice, offenses can move the football. Am I correct in seeing that? And I guess the big question, why don't they just do that all game?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you, but I think your eyes are correct there in what you're seeing. It seems like a lot of teams are struggling the first three quarters, and then the fourth quarter toward the end of games, they just turn it on. And I don't know, a lot of defenses are playing two high safeties all game. So that kind of limits some offenses.
Right. It does. Two high safety is really good defense. I mean, it's hard to sustain drives against a two high safety.
I think a lot of it is just the it factor. You've got all these great players, these great quarterbacks, receivers, and they know in crunch time, hey, it's the final 8 minutes, the final 5 minutes. We just have to go make a play. And they're a little bit more aggressive. They take a little bit.
Do they just throw it in tighter windows? And let's just use the Cowboys. You throw it to CD Lamb and just, dude, go make the play. And they do for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, in crunch time, you got to go to your best players. That's always been my biggest thing too.
It's not about a read. It's about players in the fourth quarter. I think that might be the thing is it doesn't matter what coverage they're playing. It doesn't matter what we have to throw it to our best guy.
Get it to your best guy. Be a little bit more aggressive. The first three quarters, you don't want to make mistakes. Right. You don't want to lose the game in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, if you throw a pick when you're already down and you have to score anyway, well, it is what it is.
Right. If you're down 5 points and you have to score a touchdown, with 3 minutes to go, and you throw a pick, you don't want to, but at least you're trying to score. You don't have a choice at that point. So I think it's a little bit teams obviously have to get a little bit more aggressive, and then the best players just take over games. And there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. And, you give him a situation. Bo Nix, who we just talked about, I thought the Chiefs had a chance to stop him, and he made two, maybe it was 3 big-time throws on that last drive to set them up for that field goal. So it's the it factor, I guess, is a lot of it, whatever that means. I mean, Jimmy Johnson always said that about Troy Aikman. He's like, I don't know what it is, but he's got it, whatever that means. So I think it's a lot of it. Just the best players make big plays when they have to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just, you get, it doesn't matter how many timeouts they have. You give a team 2 minutes, especially in the NFL where they're so efficient. They don't even use their timeouts, even if they have them. and they can go down the field. I mean, and they get big plays. I mean, it's not just dink and dunk. It's dink, dunk, 25 yards, dink, dunk, 20 yards, and then all of a sudden they're in field goal range.
Yeah, the Seahawks had to start their drive at the 1, and that they had a chance. It was a long field goal, of course, but they had a chance to win the game. So I mean, that's the Bill Belichick thing. In a 2-minute drive, I know I've talked to you about this over the years. I forget what the percentage drops, but if you have a negative play on first down of a 2-minute drive, your chances of scoring drop dramatically. If you gain even one positive yard, your chances of scoring increase by quite a bit. So that's always a key when you're watching a team on a 2-minute drive is, do they gain positive yards on first down, or is it negative yards? Is there a penalty or a sack? If there's a penalty or a sack, that you'll watch, I mean, teams will struggle to get down the field. If they even get a little 3 or 4 yard gain, then that's that next play you're talking about, a 15-yard pass down the middle of the field, call a timeout or spike it, and then they just keep on going down. A lot of teams now, too, in the NFL with 2 minutes, sometimes they're trying not to score too fast.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to score with 1:58 left, especially if they have one timeout left. That's too much time. They can go down the field. Offenses are so efficient.
13 seconds, the Bills-Chiefs years ago. That's too much time. So it's a battle. I mean, once you get across, the 50-yard line, a lot of times, then it's to me it's on a drive like that. It comes to every play. It changes. What's more important, the yardage and the down, or the time? Mm-hmm. And then you want to play, but it's tough to do in real time. It's easier to do from your couch or your chair at home. But after every play, it's okay. What's more important, the time or the downs? And you'll see sometimes the bad teams will get in trouble. They'll be rushing when they don't have to, because there's a minute 30 left, and all of a sudden it's 3rd and 12, and it's like The time wasn't the problem. You need to get a first down.
Right.
And you see some of the bad teams struggle with that in 2-minute situations.
Yeah, get a first down over the middle. They're trying to go to the sideline. They're taking it away. Get 25 yards right down the middle. Take 25 seconds to run the play and get up and run another play. Okay, now you're at 47 seconds, but you're 25 yards downfield. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, if you got a minute 50 left and you got a fresh set of downs, I mean, it's more about getting a first down than trying to rush and get big plays. And like I said, you'll see some bad teams sometimes just chuck it down the field on first, second down. Yeah. And all of a sudden they're in 3rd and long, and there's a minute 41 left. It's like, well, there's plenty of time, but now your life's on the line because you got to get a first down. And a lot of times they don't.
Yeah, I will 100% agree. I'm glad that you kind of see the same thing I do, that it's just it's a struggle. And then both teams score a touchdown, and one team scores 2 touchdowns in the last 3.5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, the Lions were moving the ball there at the end, in that Eagles game. And, back to that game real quick. That was the first game I disagreed with a lot of Dan Campbell's decisions, because the thing about it is last year's team, remember, the defense was all banged up. They had to score points. This year's Lions team, at least in that game specifically, the defense was balling out. They were doing a great job versus the Eagles. You didn't need to force the issue on 4th down as much as they did, or take as many risks, because it was a tight ball game. So I think he'd like to have that one back. And that's, the offense looked good against Washington. Well, Washington, is one of the worst teams in the league right now. I don't know who's going to miss the playoffs in the NFC North, but it does feel like one team's going to, whoever it is.
Yeah, I would agree that you're not going to get all 3, because I would say a little bit going forward, they're all going to beat each other up at least one game or so. So, I mean, I don't think any of them are going to – I think the Bears have to play Detroit twice, right? They still haven't played them? Or they got to play the Packers twice? I can't remember.
The Packers twice, because the Bears and Lions played week 2 or week 3, whatever.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, and the Lions absolutely destroyed them. It wasn't even close. Mm-hmm. That's right. So it's the Packers. They play twice, and just in the last 25 years, the Bears against the Packers has been good. So to think you're going to go 2-0 against the Packers is just not realistic.
No, but those games should be close. I mean, the Packers have injuries. Jacobs is day to day. Thankfully, it doesn't sound like his season's over. So that's a big relief for the Packers. But yeah, I think 3 NFC West teams get in and 2 NFC North teams get in, then the Eagles and probably the Bucks or the Panthers for that NFC South spot.
Yep. So, all right, Trev. Next week might be a little bit different with you being here. Maybe I'll have you over and we'll do a live one right here. Maybe at the Elks or something. We'll do something next week. We'll get it together. Probably not Wednesday night because that's the night before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. That's like it's Drunksgiving or whatever, isn't it? It's where everybody goes back to their hometown and gets drunk or whatever. Not
Monday
us
or
so
Tuesday. We'll figure something out, I'm sure.
Yep. So I just have school on Monday. Tuesday I have virtual day, so I got to just be around, but I don't have to actually go to school. And then Wednesday I have off, and then Thursday, Friday. So I do gotta. How about this? So my parents just bought a new house, and they have a pond, and it's got a bunch of cattails in it. My dad wants them out, so I got to go take my waders that I go duck hunting with and go cut cattails out of my dad's new pond. That'll probably my next Wednesday plan.
There you go. He's putting you to work.
Oh yeah, that's what I do. So, all right. We'll talk next week, and we'll see. Looks like sounds like on Friday. So.
Yep. We'll see you Friday, and have a good night.
All right. See you later.
Yep. Bye.